words, if you look at our website, you'll always see the know, love, serve. And as you know, around here, that's a big part of what we do, especially the know. All right. Father McCarthy, we've always talked about stuff as far as being, what do we hang our hat on here at St. Anne's? I'll talk a little bit more about the wow factor a little bit later, but education here has always been a part of that, and that's the know part. So as we're doing this, everything's rooted in that mission statement. Everything we talk about today, everything we do here is about that mission. So how are we doing? How's St. Anne's doing? And Father McCarthy has touched on this at different masses, but we just wanted to point out that basically the best answer to this is we're doing better than most. All right, in all phases of everything. I'm not going to bore you with all the stats, but basically we're one of the top in the entire archdiocese as far as a percentage of a normal attendance. I mean, it's crazy. People, we have 600 to 650 a weekend, and there's some people not getting 100 people, and they got twice as many people as we do. So as far as what's been going on here, all the precautions we've taken, everything that we've done to keep providing our service for you has paid off in a lot of ways, and I'll address some of those a little bit. But just so you know, to make this really easy, is that we are doing very well considering the conditions. All right. One of the big reasons for that is something we started many years ago. We had the foresight to look at the whole digital world. And it was amazing to me how many churches, Catholic, everybody, did not have streaming of the masses, did not have online giving, did not have Facebook, did not have all those things that we do. And I think that's one of the main reasons that we were able to succeed during the actual shutdown and everything going on. I don't know if you guys have seen the stats. We put it in the bulletin before. During the actual shutdown back in March, April, during that time period, we had over 100,000 views. 100,000 views. That was amazing because we were one of the few who had that all in place. I know the owner of StreamSpot that we use, and I called him, and of course they were flooded. But every time I asked, what more can we do? What more can we do? He just said, you guys are doing more than anybody. That was impressive, and I think that's why we had such an audience all during that time. So, other in the leadership team for all the things we've done over the years, and just amazing the results that we've had because of it. Again, one of the biggest things we do here is education. All right. Right now we have it going on. Doug leads it back there with the Bible timeline every Thursday. If you haven't checked that out, it's on the website. If you go to the live streaming page, you'll see the past episodes. Really amazing stuff in there, especially when it talks about Old Testament, New Testament, which we are finding over the years how much that connection is at the New Testament being the fulfillment. The next program coming up is the St. Joseph Consecration. You'll see information on it in the bulletin. You hear a little bit more about it. Doug, what's that start date?
February 15th.
February 15th. There you go. It's a quite extensive program. There's a workbook that goes along with that. As usual, sign-ups for things are a little slow right up until the last minute, but check out the information on that program. It's very, very good. Religious education. All the religious education some people know as MERP, money and evening for the kids, has continued. It's taken on a hybrid form, obviously. We have some kids that come into class, and we have online, which actually has been very popular. And I know as we move forward, we're going to consider some form of a hybrid again, because what we have found is that our parents are getting more involved in the process, which is obviously good. They're probably learning things also, or getting refreshed on things they've forgotten about. So religious ed has continued. One of the other things we've done, we started a tutoring program. Originally, it started out as something exclusively for the Hispanic ministry, to help those kids out because of the language barrier sometimes. But what we have found is we have, 6, 7, right, Cindy, 7 or 8 LaSalle students, all honor students, who have come up as part of their service on Tuesday nights in the gym, and we've kind of opened that up because they're so good about showing up that we offer tutoring to anybody who wants to sign up for it. All you got to do is call the office and talk to Cindy. If you know somebody, your child or grandchild or just somebody you know needs a little help, we're providing that service also. And I think those kids are quite smart on all this new math and all that stuff versus us old timers that just memorize stuff. Communications. I spoke to that a little bit already. We have a very extensive website. One of the things we pride ourselves on trying to keep it up to date as best we can. Occasionally we fall behind, but you know, a lot of things going on. So check out the website. A lot of great information in there. All the programs I just talked about, you can find them in there. Some of the things going on with the education. Facebook. All right. It's been good to us. It really has. You know, I'm not a big fan personally, but it has served its purpose. Again, because of the way we do our streaming goes straight to Facebook automatically. So we have our stream spot through the website audience. We have our Facebook audience. The one bad thing, I was going to say it so you know for future reference, if for some reason we're streaming and the internet drops, even for that, you lose the Facebook Live or you lose the Facebook feed. So we had a little period there when we were having issues back here. That's why you see all the wires now. So we just avoided the Wi-Fi and said we're just going to plug in so we don't have that because we had a time period there where it really was happening. So just know that if something all of a sudden it's not on Facebook, there's probably a reason behind it that is out of our control. Facebook Live. This was a great tool during the shutdown. You probably saw some little, you know, Becky's our guru on this, and she would have Father doing different things, and you know, the digging, the garden with the seminaries, all kinds of stuff going on Facebook Live that we've done. When we did our, I know a lot of you were here at it, the caroling and caring, that was kind of cool because we were able to broadcast Father Solo live. I never quite asked what the feedback was on his performance, but it was a fun night, I must say. And on that particular subject, you're going to find I go all over the place, folks. I start talking about something and I just take off. But it was amazing that night to see, you know, we had a pickup truck. By the time the evening was done, that thing was full. We were piling stuff up in there to take to the pregnancy center. St. Vincent de Paul had a full van of donations that came. So thank you all for that evening. It was just a big bonus night for those people. The Facebook Live has been great. The Parish app, this is probably our most underutilized technological thing that everybody should have. It's very easy to do. You can go on the website, look it up. There's a couple steps. You can just text a number. You're hooked up. Has your daily readings. Has all kinds of prayers. It has the connections to the parish. It has anything you could possibly need in the palm of your hand. You know, we don't normally say anything about you know, bringing your phone into church. Hopefully, when you do see a phone out in church, it's because they're looking at the apps. I know when I go to mass during the days, weekdays especially, I'm following along with the readings and saint of the day, Bishop Barron. There's a lot of stuff in there for you. So I highly recommend that you know, hook up with the parish app. It's really good. Flat note, that's been our main communication now. This is something you have to sign up for. Not a big deal. Again, go to the website. You can find out very easily. There's papers in the hospitality room and out in the gathering space, how easy it is to hook up. And this is the easy communication that you can control. Whether you like it as a text, as a phone call, whatever it is, you can get updated information. So like on a day like this, even though Mass would never be canceled, if there was something else going on a real bad weather day, boom, it's something we can send out to everybody. So I strongly suggest that you sign up for that. It's a lot of flexibility. We send out weekly reminders of what's going on or some kind of change or something special. So that form of communication is another way of staying on top of everything going on here. Instagram. Thank you, Becky, wherever you're at, for doing that. We've done some things when suddenly something shows up, she pops out there, and we're able to put it out there. And then there's our favorite one, a stream spot, is the live streaming that we're doing now. Again, the biggest thing about this is whether it's a class here on Thursday night or whatever night, it's Mass Plus, or just the Masses, and there's a particular homily you wanted to hear again, you can find it. Most of those things stay on there for almost a year before we do it. Some special events we've kept on there forever. One of the big things that's happened here during the pandemic is funerals, because everybody can't come in town or not comfortable, and weddings. We've had a rash of those that, we're just streaming all this stuff. And we can make it public, we can make it private, depending on how you guys want to do it. That's just a phone call to our office, and we can set that up for you if there's something special going on here at church that you want to do. And then there's Snapdragon, as Father calls it. Snapchat is one we don't utilize a lot, but as you've heard in his homilies, that Snapdragon thing, we figure it's actually a good name. If we ever develop our own app, that's what we're going to call it. It's going to be Snapdragon. And I think we can do a really cool logo with that one too. So as you can see, a lot of communications. A lot of this is electronic. Obviously, we still have the bulletin. The newsletters kind of went on hiatus for a while because of the publishing company. I see those coming back here probably a little later in the spring with some special editions about stuff that's going on. So those will be coming back out to your houses. All right. Of course, sign of the times, 2019, right there for you, folks. That sums it up. Confessions, Father, as you can see, he's got his beanie on. He's got about 5 layers under there, I think. That's probably the only time he's been happy he has layers. When he was sitting outside, and I was always amazed how powerful that was when I'd leave in the evening and you see a line of cars all the way up to Galbraith Road. Pretty impressive. And special for Father, stepping up to do that. So we had his little tent. Weather wasn't too bad most of the times, but that was very special. Everything's still going on. Confirmations in the process, RCIA. Some of the stuff we're talking about that you'll see here, especially RCIA and some of those programs, Father's working real hard with trying to get somebody kind of regional, so we don't have these ones and twos as everybody's got a couple people here, a couple people there. Try to bring all that together. So if you hear something like that, that is what we're hoping to do, to bring bigger classes and bring that camaraderie and that sharing together versus just kind of a one-on-one or two-on-one type of thing. So that would be really important, but you might hear something about that going on. Baptisms, they're still happening. We broadcast them on StreamSpot also. Had quite a few here during all this time. First Communion, First Reconciliation is still going on. They're doing retreats online. They're doing whatever they can to try to get them in here for training. All these things are still happening. And then one of the big ones is the marriages. I think Father's been known to say that he's done more in this scheduled this year and just in the past 6 months than probably 5 or 6 years total. So I think that has a little bit something to do with the appearance of the church, number one, and then the fact that people are just got to the point where, we'll have the party later. We want to get married, we want to do this. So we've had actually more marriages here recently than we've had for a while. Database improvements. I really don't have anything much under this because I just want to talk about the importance of the database. The database we switched over about just over a year ago. It is 1,000 times better than it ever was, real bluntly. We still need a lot of work to do with it. All right, some of you might have received a call from a parish council member or staff member, and every time we have that conversation with you, I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a little bit, we're always going to ask about, is this the correct information? With the cell phones, I would say probably at least 50% of the calls we make with a home number, it ain't there. It ain't there anymore at all. So that's one of the big things. So if somebody asks you, we're not prying, we're just trying to update and get this database better than it was. We've actually cleared out probably over 400 names of people who we weren't sure if they were with us anymore. So there's a lot of work going on with that, and we'll be talking about that a little more extensively here in a little bit. So those are the improvements. They're continuing to be done, and that will always be going on. So one of the big areas is buildings and grounds. You would think that with all this going on, nothing would be happening from this standpoint, but actually there's quite a bit. Actually, I'm going to back up a step to the database. We will be releasing thing, just another name for you to know and check out, because you do have to do a little bit of signing up type thing. It's called Evangelist. Evangelist is connected with our database that's going to allow us to do more things. You know, I talked about FlockNote before, where we have a communication. We'll actually be able to do it directly out of our database through this Evangelist program. As that program evolves, it'll also be a chance for you guys to have your own little portal where you can check in, make sure your information's good, correct it, please. Once we release this, you can look at some of your other information. You can communicate with us. So it kind of brings where we were using, 3 or 4 different ways of getting hold of you into one. If we do a message from our side, if we do a message, it formats it to Facebook, formats it to any digital stuff we're using, the app, all those things. So it takes a lot of load of us, because if there's an emergency, it's like, okay, Cindy, you do this one, Tim, I'll do this one, Becky, you do that one, to make sure we get the message out. So this evangelist will bring all that together, make it a lot easier out of the office, and also give you guys some flexibility to control your information to us. So that's actually a big one. Buildings and grounds. This past fall, our salmon group kind of organized a cleanup, and it was really cool. We had a bunch of guys out there from the group. We had a bunch of people. We had no clue who they were, because they knew they could come out and just, hey, I can do this. So it's another way of, of inviting people to do, just to do what they can. It was a great cleanup. Next time we will have a larger chipper for those who were there. We needed industrial strength. We had a little kid. We appreciate the person who donated that for the day, but he couldn't quite keep up for us. So that'll be a lot of work, but that still, it's been re-graveled. A lot of cleanup. Very appreciative all those people showed up that day. And we will be doing that again in the spring. Right now, there's a whole lot of those limbs and stuff they couldn't keep up with still in piles down there. So as the weather breaks, please watch the bulletin and the different announcements and all those other communication areas that join us for a day. Just some good old-fashioned labor, and really clean that up. Because one of the things we found in the prayer walk was the fact that it's outdoors, and a lot of people just started showing up using it, which was cool. And I know a lot of people have continued to do that, of course, till the bad weather hit. So we're looking to make more improvements down there as we go. You'll see those later on in the spring as we talk about what we want to do there. So a lot of improvements. Prayer walk also has the rosary. It's a rosary walk, the grotto, and the prayer walk. So you really got about any type of prayer you want to do, you can do it down there. And it's really become a much better looking area. The church speaks for itself. No, we didn't just do this, but as I was looking at stuff, I was looking at the comparison from here to there. Pretty big difference. I'm amazed at what the vision of everybody involved in that process and all the people involved in that process. But I just had to point that out. We did it a couple of years ago, but it's just amazing what happens, when everybody comes together and people have a vision to make stuff happen. Our new statue. Does everybody notice that? Yeah. When they come in? It's always fun. Father was like, I ain't gonna say nothing about it, see if anybody says anything. See if they even notice it. And obviously they did. Gotta tell you a little story with this. This is so cool. This statue came from a parish in Indianapolis. As we started looking into it, we found the backstory of this. The backstory is that the pastor there is actually a St. Anne's guy. That's cool. His mother, his grandma and grandpa were actually very, very active people here. And actually, one of the reasons I'm so involved with stuff is because of Bob Greiner. But basically, this is their grandson was the pastor. So it was obviously the Holy Spirit was working and said, that needs to go to St. Anne. So that's very cool. If you know the backup, it's even better. All right. So that really is enhanced. We were worried about how big it was. We didn't realize how much that monument, which used to be the gas meter, so if everybody knows why we haven't taken that down, there's a gas meter in there. There's gas pipes, so we don't want that to go away. We want to make sure it's solid so nobody runs into it. All right, so the new statue is gorgeous. It's marble, correct, color? It is marble also, so yeah, it's got a couple little imperfections on it, but I think it makes it that much neater. So That was a great enhancement. Stained glass, Father's mentioned this, in his talks and homily. Um, we are looking at some possibilities. There's a couple themes we're looking at. We'll be getting with the artists to put those together, and then those will be presented to the parish to see what they think of them and which theme they like better. So be looking for that later on in the spring, most likely to early summer, and we'll look at doing that. Since we've done so much that you can see based on the pictures, we feel the stained glass needs to be also updated in accordance with our new architecture in there. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. The Easter surprise, Father's actually already said it. We'll see how good you guys are listening. But there is going to be an unveiling around Easter time that you will see that is very, very special. It will also enhance the body of the church. So if you tell how Father will know how good they've been listening to you, I think somebody can tell us what that was. We had a thing we call the wish book. And the wish book had a lot of the things we're talking about, the stained glass, statues, but we have a very old boiler downstairs. And we've had to start replacing a lot of stuff. So in that wish book was this burner, to add to the actual boiler. And we're fortunate enough through donations that we're going to be able to be doing that. Luckily, one of our parishioners is in that business, and we got a pretty sweet deal. So we'll probably be doing that this spring, or actually I should probably more summer when everything's shut down. We will be replacing the burner side, which is where all the expense really is, of firing up those giant boilers down there. So that's happening. We're working on it. I wish it wasn't snow covered, and I wish they would have had their delivery time. But one of the things we're doing is the pavilion, which will be just out here. I was kind of peeking to see if you can see the base, because the base of the gravel base is poured out there. And unfortunately, they're about a month behind. I was hoping it was at least going to be setting there so you could see the structure. But we do have this pavilion coming. Again, it's one of those things we decided would be very important to us as far as, again, wish we had before COVID, for outdoor, for the kids to have classes, everything. We were just a little off on this because everything we're talking about now as far as new stuff, we were actually looking to do back in the spring. But everything, of course, got pushed back. So that's basically the front view. This area where you see the logo will be facing out to the parking lot right here. Most of you are familiar with this back here. So that's what it looked like. You'll see we have a building, not exactly that glass. That'd be the backside of it over by the driveway. So we see unlimited, literally unlimited use, just what we can use this thing for. Back is a little nicer. So everything we're talking about, the school can use for outdoor classes. We can use for a multitude of things. The reason we placed it out here is because just how close it is to this. We have indoor-outdoor event going on. We can do stuff. We can use these restrooms. If we have some big, huge event, we'll bring in extra. It's just very, very expensive to get plumbing out there, so we're not really looking at that. We'll have water, we'll have electric, all that stuff. And eventually, the building you see back there, this back portion, right now, it's storage. Someday, it'll be more or less like a concession stand or areas. We envision pig roast out here outdoors, because the completion of this program, which we don't have the funds for right now, will also include a sand volleyball court and a very large fire pit. You probably saw some of these pictures in Bolton back before we actually had the money to do this and talked about it. So we're looking for a total family environment. Yes, we'll rent it out for your family reunion. Yes, we will have our own events back here. Yes, volleyball leagues. Yes, youth group having, as we like to say, they'll be with Father, doing some study as they're doing, making s'mores at the fire pit. So whatever you can think of probably can happen back there. But we're really excited about this. We've been talking about this project for several years. We're happy to say that the equipment should be brought in here in March. By April 1st, it should be constructed. So we'll take it from there and start looking at things. One of the things we want to point out, the reason of a lot of the things I just talked about are because of the St. Anne Legacy Society. What the St. Anne Legacy Society is, it's pretty simple. It's you leaving a legacy towards St. Anne. A lot of this, most people associate with it just being, in your will or your estate, and those things are all great. And as we move forward, those are going to be very important to us. What's happened, luckily for us, is some things have happened. And this was actually the dedication of two families, this past year, last year, excuse me. And then we've had another one come in, very generous, that'll go on with Millie, the biggest one here in the back, of a gift of $250,000. Okay, if you want on the wall, you have two options, not just 250, but you also 100,000. All right, and then as we do some other ones, we've had people who've given to us over time. They'll have bricks placed in different size bricks based on that gift. So we're trying to make a statement by putting this garden out front of the importance of how people feel about their, about the parish. One of the last donation, practically everything I just talked about in the buildings and grounds before this is because of that gift. Okay? These are very important to us. No, not everybody's capable of doing that. We know that. But for those who do, we'd be happy to sit down and talk to you and what it means. There's a lot of other things that go with that. As far as what we do on the prayer walk, they will have a tree dedicated. They will have certain prayers numbered every month for them or whoever the gift was, in memorial of. So St. Anne Legacy Society is very important to us. And I'd be happy, or myself or Doug Moore, both of us, if you wanted to discuss what that is, and a little bit more about it as you look at it. A lot of people tell us, we talk to 40-year-olds and, I think what's changed, we're not worrying about that stuff. Yes, I think with this pandemic, some attitudes have changed. We've had a couple of phone calls. So, we'd be happy to talk to you about that as far as leaving a legacy gift. The garden, the brochure, any type of meeting, like I just said, we'll be happy to do with it. Finances of the parish during this time. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. We did a big push because we had online giving. We literally added over 100 people switched to online giving. If you're not doing that, I strongly suggest you pick up one of the flyers and say, or check the website out how easy that is. Don't have to worrying about your checkbook. You can tell me to cancel your envelopes, so it saves the parish a little bit of money on that side too, and several things. So luckily during when the pandemic hit, a lot of people switched to online giving, and that's been very helpful. And we've been running, and I'm just throwing a very general figure out, 65% of our normal collections, sometimes a little higher, sometimes actually even a little above with special annual gifts. So again, thank you very much. You just heard last week, or you heard from the Archbishop about the CMA. That's the Archdiocesan programs, for special gifts. Our program is called an IOP, Increased Offertory Program. All right. So this year it has a theme: faith, hope, and healing. That's something we will be kicking off here in just a couple of weeks. We'll have a speaker, probably do a homily, and it's about your giving to the parish. We've started that process a couple of years ago of annually looking at that. Your response has been awesome. We appreciate that. So, we know everybody can't do that, but obviously as we look at that, we're not only looking for the finance side. You've always seen on those commitment cards, there's also the prayer element. I always say that's one thing we all can do. Let's pray for the parish, pray for prayers for the success of the program. So you'll see a little thing. We've used GPS, which is our generosity, prayer, and service, is our theme. But in order to save money, we went with a little bit of a boxed, canned presentation at the company we work with. It's called Faith, Hope, and Healing, which obviously also fits into these times. And we need to keep our faith, we need to keep hope, and obviously the healing side on all kinds of ways. All right. CMA, of course, like I said, was for the Archdiocese programs, all good things, but just remember it's different. CMAs for that, the IOP, the Faith, Hope, and Healing goes directly to the parish here. Okay, so you know the difference. Okay, Father's mentioned this several times at Mass. The best thing we can tell you is we don't know. We're not sure what they're going to do. All right, and that scares us a little bit, actually, because we're not sure where it's at. Right now, what we do know, they're in the process of gathering a lot of data. Just kind of looking at it, obviously numbers of all sorts come into play, attendance, finances, debt, all kinds of things come into play there. So that's where they're at now. We have no idea what the next step, as far as what we will see, will be. So a lot of the things that I bring this up for a couple of reasons. One, we'll let you know, as we know, Fowler's probably one of the best. There's some parishioners out there from other parishes that have a clue this is going to happen. You know, it's got its own name, it's got its own process, and so we just don't know what this is going to look like. But basically, the overall of it is, I'm just using general terms, is we're going to go from over 200 parishes down, basically cut in half. Okay, that's the general gist of it. They're going to have half as many parishes, obviously, because we have a lot fewer priests. And I don't remember what it is, Father. How many can retire in the next 5 years? Yeah. So another 50 to 55 priests are going to be eligible for retirement. So the numbers just don't work, obviously. So this is a plan. It will probably take several years. You know, they're telling us 2 or 3 years before we roll out in the Archdiocese, 5 or 6. So hopefully they do this right, and we will keep you updated on anything that we know that we can relate. Now, what's this mean for us? One of the things here at St. Anne that we're hanging our hat on and is easy to back up is saying we're a very vibrant parish. Just based on the things we talked about already that we're doing during this pandemic, that we've done, that we're planning to do, which you'll see here shortly. Watch my time. You'll see that this is a vibrant parish. Just the fact that this many people are here in this room and online listening to this shows the importance of how they feel about their parish. So the vibrancy of St. Anne's is there. The ideal is, if we're a good parish, how do we become a great parish? Good to great. And this is a lot of things we're talking about will help get us there. As we relate back to the prayer, we know we'll never fully get there. We're just going to do what we can while we're here. So this is what a lot of this stuff back. So what we want to do is that comes through a lot of different ways. A lot of us do our ministry work, of building the ministries, building the people, building the knowledge that we have of the Lord, and moving forward. There's a process going on right now called MAP. If you hear the word term MAP, it's not really directly related to our GPS, but it's a ministry assessment process. Keyword there being process. So what we're doing, we're meeting with, we actually start off with a form to the different ministries and kind of have them fill it out, how they relate to, what they're doing as it relate to the mission statement. What are they doing? What's their successes? What's their weaknesses? What do they see as potential problems or strengths in the future? So we'll have that form back to us. We'll analyze that, kind of look at some stuff, and then from Father and the leadership team, we'll kind of have our thoughts, and then we will get with each of those groups, and we're going to kind of just do this big review and see what needs to happen. A lot of them are going to tell us we need new blood. We need new people interjected. We've had some of these groups, probably the average term on them is 20 years plus on every person in the group. So that's an assessment process, literally, that we're meeting with. Right now, we're concentrating on some of our bigger groups. We're working with SAMA, Men's Chirp, which has kind of become one. I can't talk enough about how good this group has been. You'll see in the bulletin, you'll hear announcements, you'll see on the calendar, there's really 3 parts of SAMA right now. There's their social meeting on the third Tuesday of the month. There's the Saturday morning prayer meeting on the first Saturday morning before Mass here. And then there is occasional, when we have the third Mass Plus of the month, they meet and have formation back here. So I can't say enough about what those guys are doing as far as staying in line with what we talk about as our mission statement. So we're doing this with the Ladies' Chirp is looking at that also, and Christian Outreach. Those are kind of our 3 biggest groups of people and most active. So we're working with all those. We actually started the meeting process. It's just that. It's a process. This is not an overnight, here's what you're going to do. We're going to talk about it. We're going to discuss it. We're going to put it out there. We'll see how we can improve all these groups, or just how can we back them up. One of the most exciting things we've done ministry-wise is for our shut-ins and seniors. Uh, this has been phenomenal. I think everybody's probably heard about light lunches. It started out many years ago. Father had this great idea, hey, let's bring these people in. So we were bringing shut-ins in, or nursing home folks come right in this room. Actually, we started at St. Francis Center before we had this room. And they called it light lunch. They come in, have a little service of Father, a little anointing of the sick, and then we'd give them lunch. Very popular. One became two became three, and then we said, oh my Lord, what are we going to do? We can't even get into nursing homes right now, when that's all hit. How are we going to do this? The seniors are the most, at danger. So we said, you know what? Let's go to them. So we started off back in the fall. We decided to take meals to our shut-ins and seniors. There was mass delivery of Bob Evans, turkey dinners to the nursing homes. We didn't get to see people. We just dropped them off and they got them. We had a group of people. I see several of the volunteers in this room where we went out and you had your little assignment of houses. And, I think some people were a little apprehensive. But after their first time of, greeting these people and giving them their little dinner and little packet we gave them, it's like, yeah, I'll do this anytime. Very satisfying. So the people who we visited were very appreciative. A lot of good notes. We even got a tip. Got tipped on one of them. I guess, it's just like DoorDash, I guess. But it was obviously more meaningful. We had a little packet. We had a sponsor for one of those for senior services. We're looking at getting more of those. So what's happening with this? All right, now we took a list where we had about 100 people we serviced the first time around. And then we did it at Christmas again. A little Christmas gift, little something, little packet. Yes, we're doing Valentine's Day. Yes, we're doing Easter. Yes, we're doing Mother's Day. Yes, we're doing Father's Day. The list we are now working with is over 220 because through our database, we've been able to segment and identify more people. We have people calling them, number one, to see how they're doing. I'll be talking about that ministry here shortly. But also, hey, would you like something for Valentine's? So this has been a phenomenal ministry that's blossomed out of the necessity. We were very happy with light lunch. We were thrilled with what we were doing with light lunch. We packed this whole place. We barely could get anybody else in here. But now we can even extend that outreach even further. So you're willing. We did this. We've been doing it during the day, so I know that's tough for those who work. But you can always get a hold of Cindy or just the office and let us know you'd be happy to join that. What we basically do, I think, at most it was like 10 houses or so you maybe had to go to, Cindy. So we would just give you this little list, and that you just tell you where they're at, who it is. We check on them, see if there's anything we can do for them, and they just are very appreciative of it. The phone outreach ministry. We started this with Parish Council. Basically, every month they have a little list of people they need to call and just check on. Just that simple. What can we do for you? What do you need from St. Anne's? And is your contact information correct? All right. So we get that feedback. Parish Council brings that back. They give a little summary of the people they talk to. And this was the perfect example. They were very like, I make phone calls. Don't like making phone calls. Now they're like, where's my list? That interaction, that personal interaction is what everything's about. That personal connection is what it's all about. It's very hard to do eyeball to eyeball right now, which is what we try to believe in. But obviously the phone is the next best thing. So Parish Council continue to do that. We have staff members doing it. And now we have a couple people who have stepped up and said they're willing to do it. And yes, we're asking for other people. Please, if you get a chance, if you got a day, right now we have some people coming in on Wednesday because the office is officially closed. And they come in just because when the caller ID pops up, it says St. Anne instead of some unknown, cell phone number or something. Plus the fact that we don't want you guys to give your cell phone out unless you're comfortable with that. But we're forming teams to come in on the Wednesday or an evening or something, whatever works for their schedule, So if you know somebody or you would like to be a part of that, again, just get the whole parish office, ask for Cindy, ask for Claudia, and we'll get you hooked up and started doing this. This seems like such a simple thing that we should have been doing forever. But again, during this pandemic, it was a wake-up call that this is something we do need to do forever. And the goal will be that we talk to every single parishioner on our roster once a year at least, if not more. Now is more important time than ever. Okay, so right now we're really concentrating on the parish council is doing it just a list based on numbers, how they're in the database. The targeted ones are right now the 80 and over. So then we'll go to 70 and over, and we'll just work our way down through this pandemic. So hopefully, somebody said, well, you're going to have duplicates. Yes, we are. Yes. I don't care. If we end up calling that same person 3 times, that's not necessarily a bad thing. So we do want to do that because we want to make sure they know we're here for them. So again, if that's something you think you can pick up a phone and just talk to people, I know a lot of people around here have the gift of gab, so let's put it to use. All right. Rosary rallies. This is something brought in by one of our parishioners. Hopefully you were a part of it or seen it. They used to be out in front, out by the sign, and on Thursdays. And then with the weather changing, Father has allowed them to come into the church area. So this is something else that's going on that you can find out information on through the office. I'm not sure we have it on the website yet. I don't think so. But just call the office and we'll give you more details about that. Christian Outreach Collections, I just want to, for them, say thank you. Once again, the people of St. Anne, absolutely amazing. Over 500 coats this year. Over 500 coats were brought in. All right. Food drives, all the things they do, the giving tree, phenomenal. Many thank you letters because the pregnancy centers and the people that they serve, just, it's been such a tough time, a lot more need out there. St. Anne stepped up and once again set records with all those different gifts. St. Vincent de Paul, you might have seen an appeal in the bulletin or heard, from the food side, we're great. Got just totally stocked full of, but the need really was a lot more on the financial side. So I know a couple bulletins ago we asked for people to consider that. Again, this all can be done. A lot of these things like St. Vincent de Paul, all your designated collections can be done if you do online. A lot of people have the misconception that we don't have any of the designated collections or other things on there, but you can still do that so you won't miss out on that for St. Vincent de Paul. All right, one of the features that for today is the neighborhood network. And basically, this came out of the input sessions we had. We had teams that followed up at 2 different times. We've done the engagement process here. We've had the convocation, we've had breakout groups, we've talked about what do we need to do, what do we need to improve on, all those things. And out of one of those, one of the things that came up was it started as a simple rideshare program. And talking to people, it's like, well, I can't drive at night, I'm not allowed to drive anymore, I just can't. The kids have taken away my car, not happy about it, but so it started out as a simple talk about a rideshare program. And has developed really into what you see here, or you're going to see here, is a neighborhood network. Kind of give you an idea of what we end up doing with it and where we're at. See if I can do this for the online folks too. All right. See that big map? That's pretty much like Corning Township plus. All those little spots are our parishioners. Okay. You can see it's not the little territory around St. Anne's anymore. I mean, and this doesn't even go far enough north to the people in Hamilton, up in Fairfield. So this is our parish. This is where we're all located. Okay. So we looked at that and said, "Whoa, that's pretty big territory to work with, right?" So what we tried to look at is to say, how can we look at this? Let's break this thing down a little bit. And what we ended up doing was identifying areas a little closer into, as we called it back then, 12 tribes. Sound familiar? Anybody? 12 tribes? All right. So what we've done, this will be up here for you to see. The number 1 territory on here, or the number one neighborhood, if I can find my bearings here. This area right here is basically around the church here. If you were here many years ago, that whole neighborhood was Catholic in St. Anne's. probably 90% of the houses, and over and number two and number three, very, very strong Catholic in the beginning. Based on the map you saw, that is really spread out. It's not just this local anymore. So we have 12 neighborhoods, 12 tribes that we've identified to start with. This obviously can morph into something more or some of these outer areas where you saw a lot of people. But this is where we're starting at. Basically what's going to happen in those neighborhoods and the need for that, we were looking to kick this off last spring. We really wish we had this in place when this all hit. Because everything we end up doing with the shut-ins and all that is a part of what the neighborhood network is about. Database, everything we've talked about. So we have the 12 neighborhoods. First thing we have to do, and we are identifying right now, is captains in those neighborhoods. The first thing I was asked was, do I have to lead a Bible study? No. If you want to, fine. All right? But basically, we want to have you basically as a captain of a neighborhood, and we want 2 or 3 or 4 captains that work together, all right, in each of those neighborhoods. It's just that contact point, that central spot. You don't have to have the biggest house that you can host stuff. No, you're just going to be that person who's our contact point. And really what it boils down to is every possible form of our ministry, of our community. And one of the things that we've identified for St. Anne's, we do very well in a lot of areas, very well. Our outreach to our local community is one of the things we've identified that we need to work on, right? And this neighborhood network not only serves our people, but it will also service the other people in that neighborhood. Because the whole ideal of this is to be very conscious of who's around you. And that's obviously become more important than ever during this pandemic. So what we want to make sure, a couple goals out of this. One is who's out there, where are they at? Are they still with us? You know, from a parish standpoint, do we have the correct information on them? All those little things. 2, that personal contact. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there just don't have anybody. They're still in their home. There's very little they can do. So the whole ideal is during this time, obviously, it's safe distancing and keeping all the good things in, is to make that personal contact. We would first identify all the people in your neighborhood that's on our roster. We would reach out to them personally through these captains and people in the neighborhood and just make contact. It might be a door hanger at first, saying, hello from St. Anne. I'm the local neighborhood captain. Here's my phone number if you're comfortable with that. Stuff like that. That's how we'll start. It's just a simple database connection type of thing. What it evolves to would hopefully be small gatherings, small groups within that neighborhood. Yes, maybe a Bible study. Yes, maybe Father coming and doing the grilling for that neighborhood with everybody in attendance during the summer. We feel this is just huge of the potential, and boy, do we wish we had it in place right now, so we could, really help all these people out. So, again, from a simple ideal, from an input session to a full-blown ministry, that we just can't, point out how much, how important it is for us to develop this program. As the captains, I've kind of just talked a little bit about the purpose. Is the personal connection, the community. And again, we want this to become something above and beyond just our parishioners. One of the things that we're talking about with the SAMA group and the men's area is a group we call St. Joseph Society. Basically, the worker, St. Joseph, we've had people they just needed help with something. They needed something fixed. I know some of our guys just got together and went to help somebody with repairs for one of our parishioners who they lived in a trailer and it was just starting to fall apart. So some work was just done this past week on that. So things like that, yard work for those who can't or don't have anybody who can help. So not only that, but eventually we want to say, hey, my neighbor over here, next door to me, got some things you think we can get today and rake their leaves. Can we fix their gutter? And that's where we want to draw from that St. Joseph group and other groups in the neighborhood to identify them and then pass that along so we have a ministry that can assist with that. Activities, again, could be a barbecue, could be a Bible study, could just be getting together and having a book club, whatever it might be. We want to build that community, or we want to assist in that community getting built, all leading back to this thing. And then, of course, when you have all that stuff going on, you have evangelization. You know, very tough for us as a parish to look at this and say, yeah, we can do all that by ourselves without something very organized and smaller scale. So that would be what the neighborhood network does. It breaks it down to a smaller, more personally connected group. Okay. And basically, when all this happens, we have evangelization. Nothing but good stuff can come out of this. All right. So you'll see a whole lot about this coming up in the near future. One of the things we do want to do is, if you're interested in the captain and what it is, again, don't have to have any special trait, no special skill, no special house, no special anything other than your time. You hear us preach all the time about time, talent, and treasure. We all have time. How we choose to use it, that's the difference. Great area. You might use it once a month. You might use it once every 3 months. But what it can mean to that neighborhood, to those people that you touch, endless. We're seeing that through the shut-in, through our deliveries and shut-ins of seniors. We're seeing that gratitude. And if you've heard me talk about stewardship, gratitude's huge. Gratitude is what it's all about. Okay? All righty, that was a lot of stuff. I'm sure I skipped a few things that are happening. Let's kind of look at my notes here real quick. But yeah, the neighborhood network is huge. The map process right now is huge of what we do, and you'll see all this stuff rolling out a little more formally, coming up. So, any easy questions that I can answer fairly quickly that anybody's got? Yeah. The question was, how often do senior meals? As far as the original light lunch, it was 3 times a year, but we've expanded that. We don't necessarily know if it'll be a meal every time, but it will be, a delivery type thing. But we do meals for sure 3 times a year, and that's probably going to expand. Part of that is us getting sponsors to do it. Bob Evans has worked with us really well. The new senior, and I forget the name of the group that's up there, Senior Services. They took over the old video place up by the old Mount Airy IGA. And it's a really good group of people there who sponsored our goodie bag. So if we can get enough sponsors, we'll do more. What boils down to. Yes, Ron.
Do you see reviving the lunch, light luncheon format?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I mean, once we're allowed to do that, the question was, we'll bring back to the original light lunch, which is bringing him in here. One of the things we can't do by delivering it is, Father can't do a service for him. He can't do anointing of the sick. So I'm sure that'll stay in place once they're allowed to come back out and be with us when all this stuff clears up. So yes, it will be. Anything else? All right. Well, thank you. Appreciate you coming. Like I said, I'm amazed this many people are out in this weather. We do appreciate it. And anything I mentioned, feel free to give me a call at the parish. Call Cindy, call Doug, call, just give us a holler. I mean, one of the biggest things we always go crazy about is we're there. Just holler and ask, or holler and see what we can do for you. So appreciate it. Thank you very much.